In the meantime, many of the president's global tariffs are in doubt, as you might know, following that high-profile court ruling on Friday. Our Eamon Javers has more on that this morning. Morning, Eamon.
Yeah, good morning, guys. We will see the president on camera today in an unrelated event this afternoon. So we may hear from him directly on this court ruling that came down late on Friday. But his top trade advisor, Peter Navarro, said yesterday it'll be the end of the United States if President Trump's tariffs are blocked on appeal to the Supreme Court. Navarro called the ruling, quote, weaponized partisan injustice, but says he feels very optimistic about the administration's chances in the high court. His comments came after that federal appeals court ruling on Friday that most of the president's global tariffs are illegal, holding in a 7-4 ruling that the law the president invoked to put tariffs in place does not, in fact, give him the power to do so. The court said the core congressional power to impose taxes, such as tariffs, is vested exclusively in the legislative branch by the Constitution. The president denounced that ruling on social media over the weekend, writing, without tariffs and all of the trillions of dollars we have already taken in, our country would be completely destroyed and our military power would be instantly obliterated. Now, the big question now, guys, for American companies is going to be what happens if the Supreme Court upholds this ruling, and what mechanism would exist for the federal government to have to pay back those huge sums it has collected so far. By the way, not the trillions of dollars the president talks about, but, you know, close to $90 billion, you could argue, in tariff income to the U.S. That would be going back to companies and out of the U.S. Treasury. So maybe bad for the deficit, good for the earnings of some of those companies, though.
The other element, Eamon, is how countries that have agreed to trade frameworks, and even those that haven't, how they'll use that in their own calculations about whether to negotiate with the U.S. or not.
Yeah, a lot of those trade frameworks, Carl, are not legally binding documents, right? So a lot of those countries, in a scenario where the Supreme Court upholds this ruling, a lot of those countries could wash their hands of it and say, look, we were under coercion by these tariffs. Now that that leverage has gone away, we're just going to walk away from this deal. So the president's going to be under a lot of pressure right now to get some of those deals across the finish line in terms of legally binding language so that those countries can't walk away. And then the question is, how does the president jawbone the Supreme Court here? The Supreme Court, likes to maintain its independence, doesn't want to be on the receiving end of an aggressive lobbying campaign from the White House. But you can imagine that the president wants them to rule in his favor, and is going to be very vocal about that.
All right, to be continued. Thank you, Eamon.
That's right.
Eamon Javers.